As a tribute to those who lost their lives on Flight 302, today we're going to put some faces on the casualty figures. You know, numbers are just numbers. 32 is lower than 50. And so on and so forth. Until you realize that these were real people with real lives, which were very unfortunately cut short. These were people making major contributions to their countries. So I shall give you names, faces, and even reasons why these people were coming to Nairobi. But first, let us start with an update on yesterday's video. And for starters, I want to point out an AP, Associated Press, breaking news report that has left a very bitter taste in the mouth. On your screens now, you can see the Associated Press tweet. Breaking: authorities say Canadians, Chinese, Americans, Italians, Indians, French, British, Egyptians among those killed in the Ethiopian plane crash. Now I'm very surprised why this tweet has not yet been pulled down. At least at the time I made this video, it was still there. Now, if a man and his family are involved in a road accident, and they all perish, and they had in their vehicle a dog, it's unlikely that anybody will report that there was a dog in the car. This appears to be what is happening with this AP tweet. Perhaps the original text read all those nationalities and the majority in the plane were monkeys. And then somebody decided to edit out that last bit and replaced it with the phrase, among those killed. This is very serious. There were over 60 Africans killed in that very unfortunate accident, and most of them were Kenyans. To even make this tweet factual, somebody would have at least said the nation which was worst hit was a nation called Kenya. And this was just a tip of the iceberg. I've seen various reports that insinuate flying in Africa is not safe. What they're actually saying is that when you put monkeys to pilot planes, what do you expect? Now the facts speak different. Some of the best pilots in the world come from Africa. In the 90s, when an Ethiopian Airlines aircraft was hijacked, and the hijackers believed the aircraft had enough fuel to fly them to Australia or something like that, and of course the plane ran out of fuel. The Ethiopian pilot landed the aircraft on the Indian Ocean, and saved very many lives. Now there's no doubt that a pilot who lands an aircraft that has run out of fuel on the Indian Ocean in the water, and manages to save lives in the process, is a pilot of exceptional skill, and not a brainless monkey, some in the West would want to believe. Now I'm recording this YouTube video from Africa, from the heart of Africa. And no, I did not escape a lion attack on my way to record this video. Neither did I see any elephants on my way in. Yes, I get it. There's a lot of ignorance in the West about Africa. Like the one I had some time back. Somebody said, I fear going to Africa. What if an elephant appears on the runway as our aircraft is landing? Oh yes, I get it. There's a lot of ignorance. But then, be ignorant, but don't be abusive towards Africans. Africans are very intelligent. In many instances, exceptionally intelligent. In my view, anybody who remains ignorant in this day and age of the internet and Mr. Google has to be an irredeemable idiot. I mean, these days we even have smartphones. How much energy does it take to make a few taps on the screen of your smartphone and get an answer? Now, unfortunately, this attitude towards Africa seems to have informed some of the decisions being made in the West. over the recent very unfortunate accident in Ethiopia. The U.S. Federal Aviation Administration has made a ruling that I'm predicting is going to wipe out its reputation built over 50 years. The FAA has ordered Boeing to make urgent improvements to the 737 MAX. But meanwhile, the aircrafts are not grounded. Now, I'm not an expert, but that doesn't make any sense. You have acknowledged that improvements need to be made, which means that those flying this particular aircraft, before those improvements are made, are at risk. Common sense tells you that when you order urgent improvements, meanwhile, that aircraft needs to be grounded. The only other way it can work is if you tell us there are no improvements required, there are no improvements ordered, and therefore the aircraft should continue flying. Otherwise, if you've ordered improvements, gosh, I know Africans are not supposed to think, but this thing is so obvious. I think even a monkey would understand. Anyway, I think I get it. The FAA is in the same country as Boeing. And we are talking commercial interests here. And it is very sad, because if this accident had happened in the US or somewhere in Europe, this aircraft would have been grounded a long time ago. You know, the Americans have an expression that they use a lot these days: collateral damage. And it is super interesting that this collateral damage is never applied to operations within the United States of America. It is never applied to operations where American lives are involved. But in a drone attack somewhere in Africa, in Somalia, collateral damage. And so in my view, the very unfortunate deaths in Ethiopia are collateral damage. The deaths of Americans, Canadians, etc., was very unfortunate. What were you doing in Africa, flying an African airline anyway? But the death of the majority Africans, that's collateral damage. Let's move on. Fortunately, the Singapore authorities do not agree with the FAA. The Civil Aviation Authority of Singapore, CAAS, has temporarily banned the use of Boeing 737 MAX on its airspace. And it is so obvious to me that was the right thing to do. It is very sad, but all initial indications are that the truth about what really happened in Ethiopia is going to be drowned in commercial and political interests. Powerful commercial and political interests. I predict that the verdict will be pilot error, which in this case will be a nice way of saying pilot incompetence in Africa. Now we'll go for a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll put some faces on the victims. Don't go away. Welcome back. And we start with a couple. Jared Babu Mwanzo and Mercy Ndivo Ngame were on that ill-fated flight. The couple were returning from the UK, where Mercy had just graduated with a master's degree. Sadly, Jared was only 27 years old and already a director at Seaways Kenya Limited. He is a graduate of Strathmore University and hails from Taita Taveta County. Mercy is from Makueni County and was an auditor at KPMG. This accident has made their 15-month-old baby an orphan. Jonathan Six, who was the CEO of the Tamarind Group, we covered extensively in another video right here on this channel. Hussein Swaleh is a former Football Kenya Federation Secretary General, and he was returning from Egypt, where he had been a commissaire for the CAF Championship League between TP Mazembe and Ismailia. Juliet Otieno was the acting general manager, Human Resource Development, at the KAA, Kenya Airports Authority. She was returning from an official trip in Egypt, and she had actually been recalled by the CEO following the recent Kenya Aviation Authority staff strike. Her colleague, Brigadier General Retired George Kabugi, was the General Manager Security Services at the Kenya Airports Authority and was also coming back to Nairobi after being recalled, all to do with the strike. He had 37 years military experience and also served as the head of the Kenya Military Training and Advisory Team. Anthony Gare was a media guy, the father of two, worked at UNESCO and was in charge of media training. He formerly worked with the NEMA and the Standard Group, Standard Newspapers Group. Ngare hails from Kieni constituency in Nyeri County. Isabella Cheng was returning home from Egypt, where she attended a health conference. The 31-year-old is from Homa Bay County and worked with Hope for Cancer Kids, a non-governmental organization based in Nairobi. Professor Agnes Gadhumbi taught at the Kenyatta University at the Department of Educational Communication and Technology. She was also the director of the Institute of Teacher Professional Development. Dr. Isaac Mwangi Minai was also a lecturer at the Kenyatta University, Department of Educational Technology. Stella Osebe Konaska died alongside her son Adam, on that very unfortunate accident. Very cute baby, and mother too. Rest in peace. Jane Kamau, who unfortunately we don't have a photograph, was in her mid-40s and worked in the children's department at the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital in Eldoret. She was attached to the Shoe for Africa Foundation Children's Hospital, where she dealt with children suffering from cancer. Dr. Grace Murugi Karaoke was a doctor. She has been a doctor since 2013, and she trained at the University of Nairobi. Sister Florence Wangari Yongi was a Catholic nun in her early 30s. Sister Wangari was a missionary nurse in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and according to her father, she was coming back to renew her passport. She was traveling with Father George Mukua Gageshe. The 40-year-old was a priest with the Marian Hill Missionaries. Father Gageshe was ordained to the priesthood on November 30th, 2017, and he studied for his theology in KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa. Joseph Waithaka was 55 years old and was coming back to Kenya after visiting his wife and children in Hull City, United Kingdom. Vaibhav Lahoti was in the aviation industry. He was a first officer at Saudi Arabia Airlines. Cedric Asiavugwa was a third-year law student at Georgetown University in the United States. He was traveling to his home in Trans Nzoia County to attend a funeral of a relative. Cosmas Rogoni Kimnetich was an employee of General Electric Healthcare, and he and his colleague George Kabau, who we don't have a photograph of, were on that fateful plane. The other Kenyans on that flight, of whom we were not able to get information on, were as follows: Immaculate Acheng Odero, Ann Mukoi Musyoki, Benson Maina Gadhu, Sid Mohammed Abdallah, Caroline Karanja, Ryan Joroge Njuguna, Ibrahim Mohammed Abdullahi, Ann Wangui Karanja, Bernard Mutua, Julia Mwashi, Ann Mugoi, and Helen Waithira. Rest in peace, fellow Kenyans. And may the good Lord comfort your families and those you have left behind. Now, this is a Canadian family who are going back to Mombasa after 35 years. I'm sure they're very excited about it. And finally, this was the pilot of the ill-fated aircraft. Rest in peace, Captain. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.